Boy, his first quarters have been dynamic. At the line, he cannot miss!
The Jimmy Butler saga in Miami was so dramatic that it had to end in spectacular fashion when he got traded to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Andrew Wiggins and a few other pieces. Of course, the trade allowed the Warriors to pair him with Steph and Curry, one of the true GOATs of the game. And it's been a fun ride so far, not only because of Curry, but also because of Butler's immeasurable impact to a winning organization. After moving from the Philadelphia 76ers to the Miami Heat a few seasons ago, Jimmy Butler made a name for himself as one of the best playoff performers in the league. During the regular season, he's more of a borderline all-star who puts up good numbers on a team good enough to make the playoffs. However, as soon as the postseason starts, he turns into prime Michael Jordan, capable of taking over the entire offense and hitting shots at insane rates. Playoff Jimmy has beaten the odds, making the NBA Finals twice since 2020. The Heat weren't even favored to make it past the first round in those seasons, but Butler screwed things up for the higher-seeded and more talented teams to prove why he's one of the best playoff performers in the modern NBA.
Three and it was huge. A screen by Love, a drive by Jimmy Butler. He cleaves it in.
However, his time with the Heat had to end when it was clear Pat Riley wasn't going to give him the lucrative contract extension he wanted. That's why Jimmy basically quit on the Heat, refusing to give his all to them all season long. His stats have been his lowest since joining Miami, and people think it's all about the fact that he was no longer having fun in South Beach. With that, people knew a trade to a contending team was bound to happen. As the trade deadline loomed, the Golden State Warriors turned into the biggest suitors for Butler's services. The Warriors, after a hot start, struggled as the season progressed because they lost their bench depth. On top of that, teams have started adjusting to this new team's style, forcing the Warriors to fall back on their old ways, which was to rely on Steph and Curry's greatness and hope for the best. That's why it was clear that changes were on the way for this team. The Warriors needed another true star alongside Curry, who can't be expected to do it all now that he's aging closer and closer to 40. Golden State eventually pulled the plug and traded Andrew Wiggins to the Miami Heat in a 5-team trade that allowed the Warriors to acquire the mercurial but talented Butler.
Butler lob! His first Warrior basket, but he healed.
While Wiggins was having a fine season for the Dubs, Butler was the guy the team needed because this team is in win-now mode with Curry getting older. The trade basically opened up a new chapter and lifeline for the struggling Warriors. And it's been a good trade so far. We all know what Curry can do. He's still the greatest shooter on the planet, and that's why teams always have one guy assigned to stick to him like glue. Sometimes opposing defenses send 2 or 3 defenders to try to keep him contained while preventing him from going off from the three-point line. The problem is that before the trade, there was no other player on the Warriors capable of commanding at least half the defensive attention Curry was getting. A few seasons ago, they had Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole helping Curry out as a scorer on their way to the 2022 championship. Those guys are gone now, and Draymond isn't an offensive threat. Wiggins, meanwhile, is more of a third option who knows how to finish opportunities presented to him. He's not someone teams can rely on to score off the dribble consistently or command multiple defenders on a daily basis. Meanwhile, Kuminga's injury was a big blow to the Warriors before the Butler trade. And we know that outside of Green and Wiggins, the Warriors didn't have any other player good enough to be a true starter. So that's where Butler's impact came in as a player who can create with the ball in his hands. When you look at his numbers, they don't really impress anyone. He scores around 17 points and passes the ball for more than 6 assists.
Point guard playing with Podziemski, who's always better with a ball handler. And that pass from Draymond to Butler!
But there's a reason why the Heat were so good with him as their best player. Butler's greatest asset is his ability to put pressure on the defense. He's one of the best attackers in the game, capable of finding his way to the basket off the dribble by playing a physical brand of basketball. In the 6 seasons he spent with the Heat, he averaged 8.1 free throw attempts per game. That's a lot more than Steph Curry ever averaged in his entire career. Jimmy also brings efficiency to the table. He's constantly hovering somewhere close to 50% as a scorer, only attempting shots he knows he can make. That means he likes to get as close to the basket as possible to take high-quality shots. Even when he can't make his way to the paint, he's always been a pretty good pull-up jumper from the mid-range area. More importantly, Butler is a good playmaker in his own right. Outside of Curry, the only other good playmaker on the Warriors roster is Green, who isn't capable of scoring off the bounce. So with Butler's ability to score and make plays with the ball in his hands, he's given the Warriors a true playmaking option capable of attracting defensive attention with his offense while opening opportunities for his teammates. He's a willing passer who can find Curry and other open shooters when the defense collapses on him.
Butler bounces. Curry. Oh. Ridiculous!
So even if you were to only base the Wiggins for Butler trade on stats, you can't forget about the fact that Jimmy's offense comes with his ability to pressure the defense. That's all Curry needs from a teammate. He wants and needs another man capable of making the defense think twice about leaving on an island. Butler is that kind of player, even though his stats don't reflect it. The Warriors almost never play isolation basketball outside of Curry, but ever since Butler joined, Kerr has allowed him to isolate his defender on the wing and simply create for himself or others. That's because he constantly attracts multiple defenders to his side and knows how to kick the ball to another man. Having a guy like that on the Warriors allowed Curry to have more freedom to roam around the perimeter. But don't forget about what Curry has done for Jimmy. During his time in Miami, Butler always had shooters surrounding him. Players like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Harrow, and Max Struss were waiting behind the three-point line. But as good as they are from the three-point line, they are not on Curry's level as outside threats. Steph is the type of player no one would ever want to leave alone behind the arc, with or without the ball in their hands. With Curry attracting so much attention, opposing defenses would have to pick their poison. Are they willing to gamble by allowing Jimmy to go one-on-one with his defender? Or should they let Curry loose with the only man following him around the court? That's a hard choice for any coach in the league. It's also worth noting that this is the first time since Kevin Durant that Curry has had a teammate who can attract defensive attention with his offense, but is also capable of making plays for others.
Saves it, but tosses it to Green. Butler to Curry. Shooting practice. Not one.
The chemistry between the two players has also been there. Golden State loves small ball basketball, and Butler's size and strength allows him to play the 4 instead of the 3. This turned him into a pick-and-roll option for Curry. With defenders almost wanting to crowd Steph on the perimeter in pick-and-roll scenarios, Jimmy has been finding himself open on the roll. That's where he excels because he can attack the basket and draw fouls without having to do so as the ball handler. Then there's Butler's intensity. We know that the Warriors don't lack intensity because they have Draymond shouting at teammates and cursing referees. Butler isn't as vocal, but he's just as intense. But the best part about his intensity is that he actually knows how to back it up with his on-court play and clutch baskets. With Butler's competitive fire fueling this team, the Warriors have been playing with more intensity and urgency on both ends of the court. True enough, Butler's addition has paid dividends for the Warriors, who have had one of the best records in the league since making the trade.
Healed. Curry trying to get free from Dinwiddie. Butler drives. Foul. Count the basket.
Golden State jumped through the standings and at one point contended for a top 4 spot in the Western Conference while avoiding the play-in situation. And it's all because they added a true veteran and winner on their team. Jimmy, of course, inked a 2-year extension with the team, allowing him to play at least 3 more seasons with the Warriors. But he's already 35, even if he's still one of the most impressive physical specimens at his age. This means that time is not on the side of the Warriors, especially with Curry and Green also aging deeper into their 30s. Think of the Curry and Butler duo as the franchise's last hurrah before it enters another rebuild phase as soon as Steph decides to hang his sneakers up for good. So for the Warriors to truly say they made the right decision, they need to win a title, or at the very least, compete for one in the next 2 seasons. But because we do know that Curry and Butler are proven winners who will do whatever it takes to win, this duo will probably be one of the best star tandems in the NBA in the next 2 years. And they will always find a way to put their team in a good position to compete for a championship.